Okie doke. Let's start. Welcome, everybody. We have new faces today. This is so much fun. I love it when we get to have new energy to our group. So our topic today is emotional mastery. But before we jump into that, we're going to take the first 4 or 5 minutes and start the class the same exact way that we start Power Hour every single week, which is wiping the slate of all the junk that we have absorbed throughout the week from just all the drama and the chaos of ongoing normal everyday life. So in this class, Power Hour, we are focused on how to tap into our infinite potential. Don't worry, nobody can hear the crunching. You're gonna be fine. Okay. Every time somebody's like, are they gonna hear my carrots on the?
I was just like crunching, just listening, going.
Okay, refocus, crunch. So in this class, we are focused on how to tap into our infinite potential as women in our lifetime. So regardless of which phase of life we're in, we are all put on this earth at this exact season of the universe for a very specific purpose. And it is our life's mission and responsibility to seek out and answer that call. We like to say that the gifts and talents that Hashem gave us, those are his gift to us. And then what we do with all of our talents and our skills and our life experiences, those are our gift back to our creator. And also that is our impact on the world. So we know that we're God's chosen people. We know that we are born to lead and born to serve. But one of the biggest traps that we fall into is that we slip into a pattern of following the world around us instead of leading the world around us. So one of the things that we have to do every single day is to literally wash our brain, like a brainwashing, but in a good way, not a bad way, of all of the toxicity that we absorb mentally, emotionally, spiritually as we're going through each and every day. So nobody is sent into this world with a little note that's like pinned to our head telling us what is our purpose in this life. Okay, part of the whole exercise is figuring it out as we go. And the thing is that most of us, until we're well into adulthood, really never stop to think about, hey, do I actually have a unique purpose? Is there something that I'm meant to be doing here that's different than the person next to me? That's different than what my mom did and her mom did and her mom did and my parents before them and before them, because we fall into this accidental pattern of living life on step repeat. We just wake up and we do everything the same today, 90% the same of what we did yesterday, and we do that again and again and again for our entire life. And we don't realize that that's not how we're meant to go through life. So as we start waking up to this concept of a unique mission, and as we start really paying attention to what that unique mission is, then we start to get little clues along the way. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe teaches that whatever is your current role in life, so let's say you have a job right now. Let's say, you work in a hospital or you work in a school or you're an architect or you're a graphic designer or whatever it is that you're doing. As you start to wake up to the fact that you have a deeper meaning in life than just going home and coming to work, going to work and coming home, washing laundry, shuffling the kids around, there's a very big meaning to what you're doing. And as we start waking up to that, the Rebbe says, first thing we start doing is we start holding exactly where we are to the best of our ability. So the example the Rebbe always gave is that if you're an artist and you start waking up to the power of your mission, what do? You don't decide, hey, I'm going to stop being an artist and I'm going to go live in a cave and be a monk. No, you start being an artist to the best of your ability, and you do it with your stepping into your full power. Okay? Why do we do that? We do it all then for the glory of Hashem, to bring Hashem happiness. Because if Hashem gave me a gift of singing and I can sing it to the best of my ability, that makes Hashem happy, right? If you use the talents that you have been given to make the world a better place, that's such a beautiful thing, okay? That's where we start. That's the starting line. That's not the finish line, okay? Now, there are gonna be times where we feel like we're on top of the world in our life, and there are gonna be times where we feel like we are so depleted that we have absolutely nothing left to give. Have you been in both places through seasons of life? Okay, sometimes it happens every day, like on a daily basis. Like the highs and the lows, okay? But it's our job as the leaders of our homes, as the leaders of our circles, of the leader in our positions of influence with our families, our careers, etc. It's our job to keep our tanks full, okay? That means that if I'm completely depleted and running on empty, then how am I gonna be in a place of power to be able to help everybody else around me, right? Like the analogy on the airplane, first you put the mask on yourself, then you give the mask to everyone else. And we get sucked into these cycles that, as women, that we think we have to go, give all the time. And we have lost the art of healthy boundaries. Do y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
And especially in today's world, we have to remind ourselves that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to say no. It's okay to build in buffer time. Do y'all know what buffer time is? So buffer time is where you purposefully put space into your calendar, your day, your week, your month, your year, where you can protect your wholeness. Okay, so a few examples that I would give my clients. So for a couple decades, I coached entrepreneurial women. So they were traveling, running, doing lots of things, and then they would go for a big vacation with their family, and they would save up, and they would go for this amazing, crazy vacation, but then they would come right back home from vacation and slam themselves right back into work, and they came home more exhausted than when they left. So, okay, now you've got the pictures on Instagram and your family, memory book to show for the next, 20 years, but how do you feel as a result of it? Okay? So, I had to learn to give myself permission that I can have a staycation where I don't go anywhere. I don't answer the door. I don't answer the phone. I treat it as if I'm gone. And I wind up from that feeling actually fuller than if I had gone to some beautiful tropical destination. Okay? But it doesn't have to be on such a macro scale as going on a big vacation. If you are doing a lot of events, or if you're doing a lot of hosting, or if you're doing a lot of serving and helping and giving to the community, your inner radar will tell you, I'm exhausted, I'm empty, I need a day, I need a minute, okay? And guess what? You can take those also with your family, right? That we can have an internal day of just vegging and doing nothing, or walking to the park, or spending time. And that's our job. Remember, we as the women are the thermostat of our home, right? What's the thermostat do? It kicks the energy up and down based on where we want to set it, right? Nobody else is going to do that but us. There's a very famous saying, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, okay? But we laugh because it's such a goofy thing, but it's so true. If we get lost, who's directing traffic at home? Who's steering the ship at home if we get lost, right? So when we can pull ourselves back in and go, hang on a minute. I cannot tell y'all the number of times I have had several different phases in my life where I would wake up one day and I would look in the mirror and I would say, is this it? Is this all there is? There has to be more to life than this. And those phases that would hit me had nothing to do with the amount of money in the bank. Because these phases hit me when I had financial highs and when I had financial lows. And it's something internal that's calling us, like it's like a honing mechanism. And this is very much related to our purpose, because our soul will know when we're out of alignment with where we're meant to be. Okay? I used to have a coach that would say, sister, if the ship sails without you on it, it ain't your ship. Okay? Because we live with so much FOMO. So much fear of missing out that we go, do, and we say yes, yes, yes all the time because it's just what we do. We're doers, we're givers, we're helpers, we're servers. And all of those things are good. But there has to be a place where we feel not just safe, but we feel we tap into our own inner wisdom and our intuition to rise above that and speak from our higher selves from a place of strategy. Okay? Strategically planning our lives is one of the most important things we can do that will elevate you from 99.99999% of the world. Okay? One of the things we talk about a lot in this class is how sad it is that most people spend more time planning their annual vacation than they spend planning their life. And I don't know about y'all, but I do not want to go down in a pile of potential. I don't want to be sitting on my rocker, when I'm 120, God willing, and saying coulda, shoulda, woulda. Wouldn't it have been so nice if? I want to go down, like literally, I say this all the time, like screaming with my hair on fire. Woohoo! Because I'm like tapped out of all of the potential and the gifts that God gave me. But guess what? That's actually impossible to do. You know why? Because it's impossible to hit the maximum of our potential. You know why? Because there is no such thing. Why? Because every single one of us, as a daughter of the King, as a Jewish woman, you have a literal piece of the infinite within you. And by the laws of infinity, there's no such thing as a little bit of infinity. So we are literally limitless. The only thing that is keeping us small is our programming, our belief systems that we've inherited that keep us locked in a box. And so it's literally our life's work to keep, like every morning you wake up, it's like Groundhog's Day. Okay? I did all this work on myself. I wake up the next morning, I gotta do it all over again. Why do we have to do this mental work every day? Because how much noise, how much toxicity, how much smallness, how much disease of the mind are we absorbing, are we bombarded with every day? All day, every day. That's why we have to be so consistent and so repetitive to the point of like, when you know you can say all these things in your sleep, that means we've just gotten started. Why? Because when we can rehearse these things to ourselves again and again and again, it means we finally made it past the gate of the automatic response systems. Okay? And that's what we're really going to spend the majority of our time talking about today. Okay? So if I know that it's my job to manage my greatness, that can sound like a bit of an ego statement, right? Like, who am I to think I'm great? Who am I to think that I have to manage my own greatness? Like, nobody walks around and says, I'm going to cultivate my greatness today. We don't even talk this way because we feel silly expecting so much from ourselves. Instead, what do we say? Thanks for noticing me. Yeah, it was an okay day. Things are fine. The kids are fine. Baruch Hashem. Everything's great. Okay? So we've literally been infected with this disease of mediocrity. I don't feel like I have permission to show up in my full light. Because then people are going to be like, what's she drinking today? I need some of that happy sauce, right? Because we have literally been programmed by society to turn ourselves down to 40% at best. And we've never even had a conscious thought of, am I doing this to myself? Am I living at a dialed down level every single day? So if I'm telling you it is your job to manage your greatness, and if I'm telling you that without even knowing anything about your backstory, I can pretty much guarantee that you're living at 40% of your potential at best right now, that's not an insult. That is like, it is a ticket to freedom. I'm saying you can get out of prison, you can get out of prison, you can get out of prison. Why? Because we don't have to stay in this self-limiting prison of smallness, of mediocrity. Then the question is, well, what am I supposed to do instead? And it's not about self-judgment. It's not about, dang it, I have to do more. That's not what we're talking about here, okay? We're not talking about becoming more busy. We're not talking about keeping up with the Joneses or your girlfriend's Instagram page. That is not what we're talking about. We are talking about daring to dream about a life that is so full of joy and passion, you don't even remember the last time you thought about it. If I were to give you a piece of paper right now and say, Geraldine, if you could literally map out every dream for the rest of your life, if you could live a life beyond your wildest dreams, what would it be? Most people would sit there and go, well, I mean, what more could I ask for? My kids are healthy. Baruch Hashem. I have a house, Baruch Hashem. And all those things are true. They are so true, okay? We have so many things to be grateful for. But we're sleepwalking through life because we don't realize we are meant to affect so much more power in the world, and we are meant to experience so much more joy. What if I were to tell you that up until now, you've only experienced life in black and white? And then all of a sudden, we can have this awakening where all of a sudden your life is in Technicolor. Can you imagine? So one of the things I used to tell my students is I would force them, actually force them. I would give them pieces of pen and paper, and we would sit there with like quiet time. And I would force them to dream. And what do those conversations sound like? If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you dream of doing? If you did not have fear waking you up every morning and keeping you stuck, what would you dream of doing? If you hadn't failed in the past and were now afraid of trying again, what would you dream of doing? If you had no limitations on your bank account, hoorah! What would you dream of doing? Okay, now usually these dreaming conversations, then they go into things like, well, I pay off my house, pay off the kids' college, pay off all the debt. We start there, okay? Why? Because that's what's keeping us in our most immediate prison, right? So we release those shackles, then we're like, okay, now what? Well, I'd like to go on vacation. Okay, so you take a few vacations, then what? Well, I'd like to take my parents on vacation. I'd like to do a trip. Okay, then what? And we have to go 7 or 8 rounds of this to get through the surface level things that we would have always loved to do if we could write an open check, for anything. Then we begin to get to the things that really matter to us. Then we start to hear about the things of, well, I always dreamed of learning this language. Or I dreamed of opening this shelter. Or like little things that we let these parts of us die. Because we're like, well, guess it wasn't meant to be. Okay? So where I want us to start today is when I tell you your job is to start rebuilding your dream muscles. Okay? That's where we're going to start. And whatever it is that, by the way, when I have my students sitting here with me and we go through this whole exercise, say first we're going to remember again what it is to dream big. Then we're going to learn how to dream bigger. And it is mind-blowing to me how every time it takes us a good hour to get to something of sustenance, because that is how dormant and buried it has become within us. Now, once we start getting it out, then the ideas start, oh, and then, and what about, and what about, and what about, okay? Because every single one of you, I'm looking around in this room, every single one of you are going to live Bezrat Hashem for at least another 20 years. I'm going to go for another at least 40, okay? And I'm hoping for myself for at least another 80. At least, Bezrat Hashem, okay? Do you know that in today's day and age, with the money, medicine, health, technology, and access that exists in the world, there is literally nothing that cannot be accomplished within 20 years. Nothing. I could go from bankruptcy to billionaire status in 20 years. And not because I won the lottery, but because I could create it with my own two hands. That's what is available in the world today, right? Not from a place of ego. I'm talking reality. This is what exists in the world, right? I could build something. I could start something. I could learn 10 languages. I could become a fitness guru. I could decide that I'm going to learn how to sew every flag that ever existed in the world and make a huge, I don't know, anything I want to do. It can be done in 20 years, right? But what happens if I don't set a plan? If I don't set a goal? What happens 20 years from now? Nothing. I'm exactly right here telling the exact same stories, looking on Facebook for the exact same people I went to high school with, the same coulda, shoulda, woulda, because I didn't wake up to my purpose, right? Now, our purpose isn't a one size fits all. I was born with it and it's the same purpose until I die. Okay? That's not it. I'm not going around looking for, like the hidden gem that, now I know my purpose and it's like my golden ticket. Okay? Our purpose evolves with us throughout life and it changes through different seasons of life. So when you have kids at home, that's a certain season. When the kids are older, that's a certain season. When the kids are gone, that's a certain season. And we have all these different seasons. And with each new season of life, we have to revisit our purpose. So I'll give you an example from myself. When we closed our school almost a year ago now, it was a major, major process for me of first grieving and mourning, and then beginning the healing process, deciding who do I want to be next. It wasn't something I had planned. We didn't plan to close the school. So this boom thing was dropped into the middle of my life, and a thing that was not on my 20-year plan. It wasn't on my 10-year, 5-year, 1-year plan, but it happened. So then I had to go back and say, okay, sometimes things happen outside of our creation, and then it's our job of how do we reinvent ourselves at that point. But I don't have to have some crazy life circumstance just to reinvent myself. Right? I can tell you there have been at least 4 times in my life so far where I have had to make, I chose to make hard pivots from the direction I was going in life to where I wanted to go. Like I just had to stop the press. Okay? And instead of just swimming downstream, I had to turn around and decide I'm going to swim back upstream. I'm going to go in a different direction from anything and everything I've ever done. And every single time I did that, it created massive friction in my life. Friction, not just from what I was expecting from myself, but how I was showing up in the world to who everyone else that knew me was expecting me to be. Because I lived the majority of my life, and it's still hard for me. I still have to actively work against what I imagine other people to think of me. So the noises in my brain, most of them are me running a filter of what other people are going to respond and react to me based on how I show up. It's nonsense. It's complete and utter nonsense. It's like it's like, I don't know, an 8th or 9th voice in my head. Okay? And we all have these things that are constantly haunting us and keeping us small. Are y'all with me on this? Okay, so if I understand that all of these things are happening completely because I have been asleep through most of my life. And when I say asleep, it doesn't mean, it's not an insult because we were never taught these things. Okay? What would have happened if instead of, say, chemistry, biology, and economics 101 in college, what if instead we've been taught how to woke up and step into your greatness 101? What if we'd been taught time management 101? What if we'd been taught emotional management 101 or mental mastery 101? We were never taught these things. So we're like just flopping around, literally, like fish out of water, blind leading the blind. This is how we go through life, okay? But it doesn't have to be that way. One of the analogies that we use a lot in this class is the analogy of the soil. Okay? What do I mean by soil? So your appearance, your arrival into this world in this lifetime is you being planted into certain soil. Okay? And that soil is all of your generational heritage. Okay? Your parents, grandparents, everything that you were, all that generational stuff. And as we have discussed many, many times in this class that we don't have time to broach today, is that you actually inherit all of that emotional baggage, just like you inherit the tendency to have an ingrown toenail. Okay? So there's also a lot of scientific proof that whatever your mom experiences while you are in utero, you are experiencing that as well. So all of the things that happen to your mom and your grandma and your great-grandma, all the way up the line, you don't have to sit around and go, I wonder where I got this from. Okay? We always think, sometimes because there's so much with modern psychology about, well, let's dig into that. Let's unpack that. Let's explore that more. Okay? And there is no replacement for good therapy. Please understand that. I'm not undermining it at all. But sometimes there's just nothing to unpack. You're just born with it. It's the soil you were planted in. And I can either spend all my life looking backward going, I wonder why I'm like that. I wonder why I have this. I wonder why this is my flaw. Or we can just realize it is what it is, and I can invest all of my energy in now what? What do I do with it? Okay? There's a reason why your rear view mirror is this big and your windshield is this big. We're meant to spend most of our effort and focus moving forward. Yes, we learn the lessons from our past. Yes, we receive the wisdom. And again, when we have had serious trauma in life, there is a time and a place for sure for the healing of therapies that help us work backward. No question at all. Okay? But we as women have to have the discernment between actual trauma and daily drama. Right? And we pack in a lot of stuff into the daily drama. And because we haven't been taught emotional mastery of how to deal with it and release. Deal with it and release. Deal with it and release. So what do? We just keep packing it in, packing it in, packing it in. And in America, there's a thing where we don't discuss complicated, uncomfortable things, right? I didn't in my house. Holy moly, no way, not gonna happen ever. And then I married a Moroccan. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay? They talk about everything, literally everything. You don't, if I just look at you wrong, okay? Oh, they're gonna come over and, what's going on with you? Okay? And they're gonna I mean, by nature, this Middle Eastern approach to life is screaming. Everything's always screaming. It's always aggressive, okay? And then at the end, we're gonna hug and say, goodbye, okay? Meanwhile, I haven't said a word to you in 20 years because I didn't like the way you looked at me at my high school prom, So those two types of energy are so chaotic together, okay? So we have to learn a healthy balance from all of these things, right? So you're laughing because I know you've experienced it, right, Janet? Okay. So what do we do with this? So emotional mastery is not a concept that we are going to tackle and unpack and finish with a bow neatly in one session of 60-minute power hour. Okay? But it is something we're going to start today. And then we're going to keep going with this conversation next week with however far we're able to make it through. Now, we started 2 weeks ago talking about embracing royalty. Y'all remember this conversation for those of you who are with us? Mm-hmm. So the concept of embracing royalty is all about understanding and truly internalizing what it means to show up in the world every day as a daughter of the king. Okay? When you think of how powerful that is, when you are as living on a daily basis, that you are truly the only daughter of the king of the universe, do you think that would shift your thought process on a daily basis? Yes. Okay? And it would shift how I show up in the world, right? But the thing about embracing royalty and how that affects and connects to mastering our emotions, these two are actually very closely connected. So when you think of regal energy, think for a second. I just want you to envision in your mind regal energy. Okay? What does it feel like? What does it look like to you? Okay, queen energy. Let's say Queen Esther. Okay, because right now we're just now going into Rosh Chodesh Adar. Adar is the month of Purim. So right now we are all channeling our inner Queen Esther because the Esther energy is literally descending into the world right now as we speak. Okay, which we'll talk about in a minute at the end of class. But let's take a more modern day example. Let's say the Queen of England, okay? Do you see the Queen of England or Queen Esther as being, I don't know, like weak emotional basket cases all the time? No. Do you see Queen Esther saying, I'm too busy? Does anybody with queen energy, with Esther energy, with regal energy, are they living like the inside of a pinball machine, just being knocked around by life? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So before we dig deeper into emotional mastery, I want to just take 30 seconds and remind ourselves of what it actually means to be regal. Okay, so first I want everybody to sit up straight. Come to the front of your chair. Okay, we're gonna sit up straight with a strong backbone. Suck in your tummy. Okay, envision that your belly button is hitting your spine because we have that tight of a core that is absolutely happening right now. Okay, our shoulders are rolled back. Your head is straight. You have zero baggage. Okay, you are the daughter of the king. You're sitting right now at the table of the king. Do you understand what kind of heritage this is? Does it feel real? Can you even allow yourself to go to that place? Okay, I want you to open your eyes and I want to ask you a question. Do you believe you can affect anything with your heritage as the daughter of the king? Or does it just sound cute? Does it sound esoteric? Like kind of a bit fluffy and out there, and I'm not sure how I actually, how do I reel that in? Can I take it like a pill? How do I make it real for my life? Okay, most of us don't understand it. It's almost impossible for us to understand. Do you know why? There's so much research that shows that the way that we relate to our biological father is directly correlated to our spiritual connection to our heavenly Father, to our Creator. Okay? Now, even if you have the best dad in the world, a most amazing dad, every single one of us has daddy issues of some sort. Okay? It's just the way the world is. Okay? And if your dad struggled with finances when you were a kid, then we grow up with a mindset of scarcity. If your dad struggled with anger issues, then we grow up with self-worth issues. If your dad struggled with not being present when you were home, when you were little, then we struggle with not feeling okay to ask for things and expecting that we can't rely on the people around us. And our dads are human, even the ones that are the most awesome. They're human just like we are. And this is not a time where we sit back and we go, okay, I knew I should just blame my parents all along. That's a victim's mentality. That's not what we're meant to do. We know that our parents, God bless them, did absolutely the best they could with the tools they had at the time. And so do we. But now we are being given new tools. And one of the things that we can do is we work on healing all the things from our past, but we invest our effort and energy into who do I want to be from this point forward. If I were to literally unzip my asleep costume, okay, like how sometimes you unzip like a fat suit and you step out, right? Like a costume that if you've been zipped inside and you step out to this whole new person, who do you want that person to be? You can define it. Okay, but that's where the belief systems come in. Here's something that is so important to know, okay? If your dad had access to all the money in the world, he actually owned all the bank accounts, all the gold vaults, everything, all the money in the Middle East and China belonged to your dad. Do you think you would have any trouble at all to be worried? What about if your dad owned all the medicine in the world? What if he knew every cure? You got some weird sort of cancer hospital behind your left knee to a weird growth. He knew what to do. Anything that could happen, he would know the answers. Would you be worried? No. But we're not living like that. Why not? Because we were never taught the true direct connection between us and Hashem. You see, he wants to blow your mind with goodness. But we have to learn to shift our thinking to actually believe this and live with it. And this is the mic drop right here, okay? Your belief level is actually the lid on your success in everything you ever hope to accomplish in life. Our belief level. How many times have we told the story in this class of the 4-minute mile? 4-minute mile, never been done, ever. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years of people running, and they said it couldn't be done. One guy does it. A week later, someone else does it. A week later, 4 months later, a year later, thousands of people had broken the 4-minute mile. Why? Because all of a sudden there was a new belief introduced into the world. Now there are 3 levels of belief. Believing absolutely no, it is not possible. That's one level of belief, okay? Absolutely not possible. Second level of belief is, sure, it's possible for someone. I believe it's possible out there. Third level of belief is I believe it will happen for me. Okay? And notice will happen is different than it's possible. Right? And that's what bitachon is. Bitachon, which is most commonly mistranslated from Hebrew as trust, actually means reliance, like guarantee. Okay? So if I am relying on something, I'm not coming up with backup plans. Okay? But if I don't rely, I'm like, it's really nice of you to show up, nice of you to say, yeah, sure, winky, winky, yeah, thank you so much. And meanwhile, I'm like having 47 backup plans because I don't actually count on this. And this is what we're taught by our sages, that this is how we have been like bamboozled as into this. We've been tricked. We've been literally like bopped over the head and completely tricked into thinking that we have to have all the answers. And thinking that, well, if I can't do it, ain't nobody gonna do it. And we have been minimizing what we expect from ourselves and what we want from this world so we won't be disappointed. From the time we were little girls, the first few times we got disappointed, we started lowering our light. And now we're like, well, I don't ask for much. I don't need much. I'm a simple girl. And that's okay. When I say simple, we don't need to be overly complicated. We're not talking about now trying to go out and become billionaires so that we can look important. That is not the point at all. Okay? The point is your soul, your heart has a dream. And God put that dream into your heart, nobody else's. And the reason he put that dream into your heart is because as you pursue that dream, you are going to show up and impact and affect the world in pursuit of that dream. And as you shine your light, that is your divine calling. Are you with me on this? And that is why your dream is separate from your dream. And sometimes your dreams overlap and you intersect and you take the journey together for a while. But people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Part of our problem is that we have attachment issues. And we can't let go when it's time to say goodbye. Okay, what we talked about this week in our class on relationships is that you cannot lead people that you need. You cannot love people that you need because the minute I need them, it creates an unhealthy attachment. Now, that's a big conversation that we like, well, I do. I mean, I'm married to the man, I kind of need him to pay the mortgage, because that's what he does. Okay. But whatever your deal is, that's not what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm talking about an emotional, spiritual, physical level. If I am living in my regal energy, I know everything is me and Hashem. Hashem is my dad. He has all the money, all the cures, all the ideas. He keeps me so safe. I do not have to live like I'm in the inside of a pinball machine. And I don't have to live on the constant merry-go-round of madness. But you know where that madness happens? In our minds. That's where it's actually happening. Okay? So what do we do about that? I mean, if I am telling you, the first time I heard this, I was like, give me a break. Okay? You are telling me that my belief system, this invisible thing that I can't even see, that is like a gurney, like tied around my head, squeezing my brain, that is what's keeping me locked in a corner? Yes, that's it. It is impossible to fit. I had a coach that told me this once, it changed my life. She said, it is impossible to fit an 11 by 17 dream into a 3 by 5 mind. Our job is to focus on expanding our thinking, expanding our beliefs, expanding our level of abundance of what we dream and believe is possible. But how do we do that? How do we actually embrace so much possible, how do I even entertain the idea of abundance when I don't know, for the last 40 years, I've been dealing with these old voices of guilt, shame, regret, anxiety, fear, stress, chaos, scarcity. You're telling me to dream big and I can't even, pay rent. The two don't coexist, okay? It's very hard to release our old patterns of thought and behavior. Very, very hard, because we've been programmed to live with them in our minds and actions all day, every day for our entire lifetime. And this is exactly how the Sitra Achra keeps us small. Sitra Achra is the other side. Okay? The forces, the energetic forces of darkness in this world, they keep us trapped in prison. You know why? The other side is all bad all day. So we think what? I'm going to show up once a week and have a 60 minutes once a week and I'm going to walk out tapped fully into my superpower? Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Okay? And this is why we have to manage our own mindset and manage our own greatness and take full responsibility of this all day, every day. But guess what? We do not, just because a thought goes through your mind, doesn't mean that it needs to stay there. You don't need to plant it, let it take up root and grow a whole tree. You do not have to believe every stupid thing you think. 90% of the things I think, I promise you, are stupid. My job is to filter them. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Because they came from some sort of absurdity to keep me small. And the whole point is, am I going to have enough strength to filter? But even in an analogy of a physical filter in life, what do you have to do with the filter every now and then? You got to wash the dang thing, right? And you got to change it and upgrade it. But we're not. We're still walking around with the stupidity of what we've been carrying since we were 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30 years old. Okay? So we carry this thing, Jewish guilt, okay? Which is the most un-Jewish thing ever. Jewish guilt is not Jewish. It is so not kosher. And it is the most, when I hear it, I want to spit. And people laugh at it and they make aprons of it. And it's like this cute little thing, memes. We don't realize it is a disease. It is an absolute disease that is keeping us small. Because guilt, do you know that guilt has actually been correlated with multiple causes of cancer? Because we don't know how to deal with this, so we just pack it in. We pack it in, we pack it in. And because we don't know how to process our emotions, unprocessed emotions are the source of disease in the whole body. I mean, think of it, dis-ease. That's where it comes from. Okay? So, you are the daughter of the king. Anytime you want, you can knock on daddy's door and say, hey dad, I'm back. I did something really stupid last night. Sorry, I really didn't mean to. I didn't plan to. I didn't want to. Ah! And yeah, I said it the day before and the day before and the day before. Ah! And that's our guilt coming in. Because we're still saying, well, I already said I'm sorry 55,000 times. How can I say it again? Guess what? The moment you show up with the heart of pure tshuva, Hashem's already forgotten it. You're his daughter. The problem is that we continue to punish ourselves. We're not letting ourselves release it, right? So how do we let go? This is where learning to be the master of our emotions comes into play so powerfully. What if you were able to delete every negative emotion you've been carrying around for your lifetime? What if you just delete all those files? Man, how much lighter would you feel? You would not even, I promise you, you wouldn't recognize yourself. You know why? You would feel like you woke up with amnesia. Why? Because, again, 90% of your thoughts are negative. On any given day, 9 out of 10 thoughts we tell ourselves are negative. Why is that? It's called negativity bias. This is a scientific law. If there are 10 things that happen to us in a day, 9 of them are positive. Someone smiles at you. Someone says thank you, etc., etc., etc. 1 negative thing happens. Somebody looks at you weird. You get a text that you're like, what do they mean? Okay? So of the 10 things that happen, we completely delete the 9 positive things. And we psychoanalyze, freakishly fret over the 1 negative thing, right? And whatever we focus on grows. So what are we creating more energy of? The negative. Now you take that, I'm giving you an example of 1 day. 365 days times the last 40 years. How much negativity baggage are we? It's literally like noise. Like if you can imagine all the voices in your head, all those whispers of, you shouldn't do that. You can't do that. That didn't work for you last time. You don't deserve that. Who are you? It's a bit much. Probably a bit much. I mean, should you say that? Is it okay to invite someone over? Am I allowed to? The voices in our head. They are so real, y'all. They are so real, and you're not the only one, okay? So what do we do about this? Why did I say you would have amnesia? Because the halls of your mind would be so quiet. Why would they be so quiet? Because the halls of your mind right now are completely filled with negative emotion. The negative past, the fears, the doubt, the insecurity, just that, do you know what that means? It means you hit a lid where you don't feel confident to step into your full light. And mediocrity is a disease that has been sold to us in Western society. What is mediocrity? It means settling for less than greatness. And greatness is not defined by anybody but you. And this is something that's so important to understand. You define your greatness. Not your neighbor, not your mama, not your dad, nobody. You. So when we are going to realize this is where we can start deciding, from this point forward, am going to start learning how to become a master of my emotions. I am going to choose to start believing I might have the seeds of greatness somewhere within me. What if I just live for the next week with what if? What if everything Haya said isn't complete malarkey? What if it's actually possible that I could blow my own mind from this point forward with a whole new lifetime of dreams? You see, I'm a big believer that as long as we are still here on this planet, eating, sleeping, living, breathing, that there is more, Hashem has more for us to learn and more for us to give. Do you believe that's true? I'm going to say it again. If you are still here living and breathing on this planet, it's a sign from above that you have more to learn and more to give. Yeah. Correct? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So what if we decide from this point forward, this is your starting line. Okay? It's time to write a whole new book. And the book is, what if I started from today learning to reprogram my mind, not to live only from the soil of where I was planted with all the generational stuff, but I'm going to choose to plant a whole new garden. I am going to choose to create a new dream for myself. I'm going to choose to entertain, what if I were actually the daughter of the king? What if I were actually limitless? What if for the next 20 years you worked on curating a life that would blow your own mind? Can you imagine? Think about how much smarter you are now than you were 20 years ago. Okay? Now, there's something to be said for naivety. Okay? I used to have a coach that she said she was just ignorance on fire and she was too dumb to doubt. Okay? So there's something to be said for the naivety of youth, for sure. Okay? But what if we take all the things that we learned and all the ways we were beat up along the way, all the bumps and the bruises, and instead of them making us smaller, what if we let them be stepping stones each time? And instead of armor, these battle scars have actually made us wiser. And they've given us more grace, and they've allowed us to see a bigger world. So from right now, I can literally redefine my own reality. You see, reality is what you make it. And right now we have the certain reality. And it doesn't mean, Chas v'shalom, God forbid, we go home and we're like, honey, that's it. I quit. I want something better. Okay, that's not what this means, okay? It means that we really start thinking bigger for ourselves. Okay, and we think, and now, I keep bringing up money because the minute we start to dream, we get cinched back in by the bank account. But the truth is that money is energy. And money is a symptom of our thought process. Money is a symptom of our belief systems. Okay, and if you want to have that discussion, it's a whole different discussion for a different day, and we can definitely go there. But there is a whole process of rewiring your financial thermostat that has 100% to do with the soil you were born into. Okay? That one thought, by the way, changed my entire world. When I learned that, it was like all the fireworks in my mind went off, and I realized I could literally change anything. Okay? So we're going to start to summarize for today and start to wrap up. Okay? This is a very much a to be continued conversation. Okay? But I want us to summarize. If you were to take away 2 or 3 main components from today, what would they be? What are the things that you want to go home and purposefully work on internalizing for the next week until we meet again?
Trying to step into my light more.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Good. Trying to step into her light more. Good.
Yeah. Have more bitachon.
Have more bitachon. Amazing. Very good. More utter reliance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just pure joy and happiness without anything materialistic, just being.
Amazing. Amazing.
You have that already. Act like the daughter of the king.
There we go. Our regal energy, right? Okay, now, when we get together next week, I'm going to actually invite you to do something before we get together, okay? If at all possible. I'm going to share the recording for this class, okay? And if at all possible, before next week on Thursday night, I want you to watch the class again. Like start on Wednesday morning and just watch it, like you don't even have to look at me. Just listen. Put your headphones in while you're driving or you're doing laundry or dishes or on the treadmill or taking a walk or anything that you're doing, so that this thought process is fresh in your mind when you come next week. Okay? And then when we get together next week, we're going to start the practical process of how do we actually go through the rewiring. If I say I want to become a master of my emotional state, how do I do that when it feels like I keep getting hit over the top of the head and being put drunk into the back seat? So how do I actually claim back that power? Okay, that's where we're going to start next week. But before we wrap up, I just want to quickly mention the Esther energy. Okay, we've learned in this class, one of the first things we spent a good month right after the high holidays focused on understanding divine providence and really trusting in divine providence. Okay, the Sephardim say hashgacha pratit. The Ashkenazim say hashgacha pratis. Okay, in English it means divine providence, which means trusting that everything that happens, literally everything from the blade of grass outside to a speck of dust getting in your eye, is exactly and divinely orchestrated by Hashem for your greatest good and the greatest good of all. That is divine providence. Okay? So if I show up and I'm walking every day through life understanding divine providence, there is no such thing as coincidence. Nothing, none, zilch, zero, ever. Never happens. Doesn't happen, doesn't exist. Okay? Coincidence is nature's way of saying divine providence. However, when we look at something like this, as this discussion that we're having today, and then right at this very moment, the month of Adar, the Jewish month of Adar that holds Purim, of course, Purim is the whole story of Esther, and that is what's coming into our world right now. Tonight, Rosh Chodesh Adar is beginning. So this means that the Queen Esther energy is descending into the world. So this is you having everything in your power, everything in your favor that is helping you. It's like, on Motzei Shabbat, there's a meal called Malava Malka. It's the final meal at the end of Shabbat. After you do Havdalah to take out Shabbat, then there's a final, it's like a grand farewell dinner. It's called Malava Malka, and it means you're escorting the queen. You're escorting the queen, the Shabbat queen, out for another week, okay? I want you to imagine right now that Queen Esther is coming in and escorting you into this regal state of being, okay? So if you were literally the son of Queen Esther, the daughter of Queen Esther, the daughter of the king, you would have no problem dreaming big because literally everything is at your disposal, okay? So your mission this week, should you choose to accept it, okay? First of all is try your best to listen to this audio before we get together next week so the concept is fresh in your mind so we can jump right in, okay? Second thing you're gonna do is you're gonna focus on channeling your Queen Esther energy all week long. Now, the month of Adar is very connected to joy. Everyone knows this, right? So in the Hasidic circles, with the Hasidim, they actually dance. At shul every day, they break out into dance. They take 10 minutes in the middle of davening and they just dance like maniacs. Dancing and happen and being goofballs just to channel happiness. Okay? Because they said everything you could possibly want to happen in the month of Adar comes with happiness. Okay? So the energy of Adar has two things. It has regal energy and it has joy. So that's what we're going to focus on this week is our regal, joyful energy. So we don't want to be so regal that we're stuffy, right? We want to understand our power, but we also want to be willing to let go and have fun and be happy and be silly, because what you can do with the power of joy will exponentially increase all the things that you are daring to dream as we start this process. Sound good? Sounds good. Okay. Bye, everybody.